Hey Virgo, let's do a financial tarot reading for the month of February. By financial, I mean I want to look into the energy of the month for those of you who are dealing with, career, education, self-employment, investments. Maybe you have a contract or a housing situation going on, a bill in the mail, anything like that. We're going to see what the energy is in regards to finances. And just as a heads up, this deck is the Gustave Doré deck, but it is based off of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, so the interpretation is going to be the same in terms of traditional tarot. And as for the rules of Ontario's regulations, I do always have to say that these are for entertainment purposes only and do not replace any financial or professional or legal advice or any advice at all, or any professional advice at all for that matter. But they are strictly for entertainment purposes only. But do we like to get into a financial reading? Heck yes, we do. So we're going to do that and see what's going on. And this is really interesting. Why do you have this dynamic coming into your reading? You have the Six of Cups here. The Six of Cups is usually something that shows up in a relationship concept, and it's sitting in the middle of your financial reading. You also have the Chariot in the reversal, indicating that something was blocked off. The Knight of Cups in the reversal, somebody was holding back. And I know that we're going to talk finances here. You got the Judgment card and the World card. Something is about to reset on you. And I need to take this dynamic here and just briefly for a moment mention in the month of February, Virgos, you might end up dealing with a situation with somebody coming into your life that once pulled back. I'm just putting it out there. Whoever it is that pulled back, that's going to be a main theme for you. And now that I've just said that quickly, let's talk about the financial aspects. But I'm being called to it because that's a fancy way to begin. Let's start off financially with this here, the Chariot card. From a historical perspective, let's talk about the modern tarot first. Like when I say modern tarot, a lot of people who are YouTubers, hey, I'm a YouTuber too, TikTok tarot readers, I'm a TikTok tarot reader. I'm one of those too, so I absolutely get it. But a lot of people in the modern world will view the Chariot as the emperor who gains victory. The emperor is riding in on his chariot, coming home to a victory. And yes, in a modern sense, this is a card of victory. Victory in your finances. For some of you, victory in a romance pursuit or a friendship or somebody coming together with you. But historically speaking, over 100 years ago when the Rider-Waite-Smith deck was printed and interpreted, and a lot of modern tarot is based off of that deck, so I reference it a lot. And I love teaching people about that deck. The person on the Chariot is actually not a king. He is a prince. And he does not have the ability to have victory with the things that go on in the temple, like the High Priestess card, or the Hierophant, the card of the church. His victory is in the physical world, in the material world, which does include victory on a path that leads to finances. I also want to remind you that the Chariot is on a path. So this doesn't insinuate that you have, like when we're talking about the Chariot card, it's not about a whole victory, but it's like you've picked the correct path in the month of February. So my first key to you is whatever you're doing with your finances, if you have began this self-employment, or maybe you have submitted a resume for a particular place, or maybe just started a job, or maybe there's an education career course that you're trying to do, or maybe there's a house, whatever this path is, the Chariot card insinuates that the path that you're on for the month of February is the correct and victorious path. It is victorious to accomplish the things in the material world. Now, another fancy thing that's coming to mind about the Chariot card that most people don't know is that historically, on the shoulders of the charioteer, which is again the princely figure, he has the Urim and Thummim on his shoulders, which was a device from ancient antiquity that in mythology, it was said to be the device or the tool that was capable, that allowed somebody to be capable of speaking to God. They were these almost like, some people had said they were like glasses to see in the future. Some people said that they were stones, like lots that you could cast. Essentially, people tried to discover the Urim and Thummim, and that Joseph Smith, I think, he had claimed that he found this device. Basically, the way that it worked was you asked God a question in and behind the temple veil, in the sacred area where God was in terms of like Judeo-Christianity. You asked him a yes or no question, and then with the Urim and Thummim, one of them would say yes, the other one would say no, and you would get your answer from God that way. Hello, divination sitting in the middle of Judeo-Christianity. And especially, like, we take it to Deuteronomy, they hated that kind of thing, and yet, in and behind the scenes, they were using the same concept of being able to divine the yes or no from the Godhead. This dynamic of being able to communicate in that image, that the idea that this person has this victory on the chariot card in the realm of the material world, it doesn't just insinuate that you're on the right path, but that you were actually kind of put on the right path. Like, the path that you're on is the one that God wants you to be on. If you want to call it God, if you want to call it Spirit, if you want to call it Source, Holy Spirit, Divine Feminine, Ruach, whatever you call it. There's the card insinuates that there's a communication going on within you where you can almost hear and feel the path, and you're getting pulled to it. You're getting called to it. And I'm saying the word calling intentionally because as we move into the next card here, the Judgment card is the card of the calling. And you guys know me, man. If you have known me, if you've seen my readings before, I love giving you guys history lessons in the middle of my readings. I'm a little bit different than most tarot readers. I'm a Gnostic tarot interpreter, so I love studying. My passion, and my enthusiasm is studying ancient history. Now, the Judgment card has a really ancient, well, we could say medieval concept to it when it comes to the calling. That is to say, what you're being called to. So Arthur Edward Waite, when he created the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, he produced or published a book called The Pictorial Key to the Tarot in the year 1910. Which gave the instructions of each of the cards. But in the introduction of the book, he, through a little bit of plausible deniability, dropped a bit of a bomb on everybody when he made the statement and the claim that it would be beneficial to look at all tarot as if it was a secret symbolic language. Very Da Vinci Code kind of statement that he was making. A secret symbolic language that he associated to a group of mystic Christians from the 1200s. Medieval times, the Great Crusades, known as the Albigensians. Now, these Albigensians believed that the God of the Old Testament was not the right character. They believed that they were the true Christians, and they believed in the divine feminine of all things. Of course, the Catholic Church was like, you can't be saying that kind of stuff, so off with their heads. They were crusaded against, and their information lost to the wind, you could say, to some degree. There's only a handful of the Albigensian tales, the tales of the Cathar, that you can still find. Some of them existing in like poems that they made at the time. Now, when this card is looked at, the card of Judgment Day, most people from a modern tarot or a Catholic, modern Roman Catholic perspective, they think of the Judgment card as the card of, fire and brimstone raining down on you, everything wiped clean, the destruction of the material, destruction of the earth. But in the Albigensian format, the people who believed they were the true Christians, the Judgment call is about listening to the Spirit of God and being called back to your original source. Listening to the desire that's within you so that you can go to where you're supposed to be going to. In fact, these people believed that you could not make the wrong choice. You would always, there were choices that you could make that would be a little bit friction based, but ultimately all of your choices were going to lead you to your path anyways. They received their traditions from a group of people like these Albigensians from the 1200s. A lot of their beliefs were based on the Bogomils and associated, I guess you could say, sects of Christianity. Those people like the Bogomils got their information from Manichaeans, from Gnostics, from the Sethians, the Valentinians, and bar none, when you look at those kind of traditions, they believed that the source was always going to take us back. That we were already kind of on the way to be getting out of bondage. We were being called back to the source. A lot of people talk about like Judgment Day as if people are going to go to hell, fire and brimstone. And then original Christians were like, there's no such thing as hell. Hell is already here on earth if you let it. You see what I'm saying? This is the key. So you guys, if you're in a situation financially where you're feeling called towards something that it feels like it's going to lift you out of your own burden, go to it. In fact, that brings me to this here, the Six of Cups. When the Six of Cups is a depiction of people coming together, so you could have somebody coming in your life, it's a reflection of you and anything else in the world that is supposed to be joining with you. And sometimes what's joining with you energetically is a job, or is another career, or is a particular client. And in the upright position, the Six of Wands is also the card of sharing wisdom. So you gain a sense, essentially, it's like saying that you've, through communications with another person or through some circumstance that joins you in the month of February, the calling that you get, it also shows up in wisdom. Wisdom you might be receiving from another person that assists you with knowing that you are on the right path. For some of you, it could be, as an example, a person you do a course with, and that person gives you the skills or the wisdom to go forward on the path of your employment. Maybe somebody helps you with a resume and they give you the wisdom to reformat your resume in a certain way. Others of you, maybe a teacher at your school system gives you and comes together with you and gives you some kind of wisdom so that you can say, oh, I am on the right path, and you keep going forward. You are called to receive wisdom, essentially, with this dynamic here. And then we have the World card. This is a really good energy when it's in the upright because it means you are leveling up. The Judgment card comes right before the World. That's why it's card 20 and card 21. You are called to your state of cyclical completion. And in fact, I love that on the Gustave Doré deck, you are surrounded by angels. Look closely, my dears. It's the wings of angels surrounding you, but guiding you with another person. It is unity. It is about coming to, you know what? To be honest, this seems like it's not just the right path. This is starting to really look like a destiny reading here. This is like whatever path just opens up in the month of February for you, it's looking like this was your destined calling. It's like if all of a sudden a path opens up and there's a particular job, go for it. If there's someone who says, hey, I have an answer that will help you out with this, that, or the other thing, freaking go for it. For those of you who get an opportunity, by the way, that comes to you in the format of a partner in romance or a spouse, and they offer you some kind of opportunity, go for it. If someone wants to join up with you and build yourself a little empire, go for it. The amount of successful cards that we have in here is absolutely insane. Somebody is coming forward to give you a sense of wisdom, and your unity with that person or that institution or what have you is like the perfect timing and works out in your favor. And it's something that it looks like you were destined to have anyways. It's going to level you up. The last card that we have here, really interesting card, the Knight of Cups. In a modern sense, it's somebody who wanted to speak with you about something, but they held back. And it is still in the reversal. In the upright, it's the card of a proclamation, a message, a messenger card, essentially. And in the reversal, not necessarily as much. But there is still messenger qualities to that card. The thing with that card, though, the thing with this card is that in the reversal, the message is usually one of two things. Either it's very subtle, like maybe it's the wisdom or the calling that's very subtle, so you have to be careful not to miss the opportunity. But in other cases, and I'm going to pull an extra card for this again, In other cases, the Knight of Cups is artifice, fraud, and swindling, which is a very specific dynamic that nobody wants to hear of in their financial reading. That's why I'm going to pull an extra card. I'm going to see which one it is. Because I'm like, okay, did you have some kind of a situation in the past that you feel like you got duped out of? You know, you felt like it was like you got swindled out of a situation. Was there a contract that was shitty? Or maybe there was a person who kept something from you. Maybe it's that person who wants to come back in. Let's just see. Let's get another shuffle and see why that card, why is the Knight of Cups in the reversal? He is also facing the Chariot. I just realized that. So here's your energy in the Chariot of victory. And somebody who perhaps in the past didn't say something appropriately, they might want to come in and communicate at some point. But we'll see. We'll see what's up. Is it that there's a subtle communication, or is it somebody or something that was a little bit like artificial, fraudulent, or swindly? Somebody who tried to get their way or something like that. Give it a good old shuffle here. Four of Swords. Okay, it comes after the previous. So it was a previous situation. Four of Swords in the upright. It's a healing dynamic. Okay, maybe you're healing from being stuck, healing from being in suspension. I think some of you probably got stuck. Sorry, I would say here the Hanged Man stuck financially in suspension because of some situation in your past that you felt like you got duped out of or was maybe fraudulent towards you. Or somebody even could be like, family members who caused you some kind of maybe you had a scarcity mind frame, or maybe you had financial burdens and blockages from your past that you needed to heal from. It's almost like the path that opens up here in the rest of these cards is resolving and healing this past blockage. Or perhaps bringing some balance to a past situation where you felt like you were ripped off. Or you felt like with the suspension or the Hanged Man, it left you feeling stuck. That can happen sometimes even with bills. You get some kind of a bill that happens and you're like, God damn it, now I feel so stuck for the next 3 months because I have to pay off this thing. It could even be like that. Or having a family member who messes around with money and they leave you feeling stuck. Again, it feels like there was some kind of thing that did not need to happen, but you got kind of duped into it. And now all of a sudden, and that's the only card with difficulty. The rest of the cards are like, hey, you're about to level up from that situation. It's a really nice energy. I'm going to leave you off with that. If you are interested in a little bit more of a financial reading on TikTok, which is at the link in my bio, I'm actually going to go through every single week of the month of February. I'm going to see what's going on in each week to see if there's a particular week that has more money that comes in or has the contracts or paperwork or things like the messages coming in. So if you're interested in heading over to my TikTok to unlock any of my membership videos, you can always check those financial readings out too. But I am going to also go to TikTok and do some love readings now. Since yours was interesting that you had that Six of Cups quality, that you had, for some of you, there could be coming together with a person, like a partnership that balances you out. And at the same time, your finances start to take off a little bit. You know how they say things happen in threes? When it rains, it pours. Well, in this case, in February, you might feel all of a sudden like things are going really good. All of a sudden, it's like when it shines, it keeps on shining. Essentially. So yeah, I'll leave you off with that. Thank you very much for joining me here. And if you want a private reading, hit me up in the link in my bio and I will talk to you later. Ciao for now.